fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
When it's time for family fun and memories, just add water. Head to the New Jersey Boat Sale and Expo, February 15th through 18th at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison. For tickets, visit jerseyboatexpo.com.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. As in 22 days until Outback Striper season reopens in the Garden State on March 1st. Did I know that Taylor Swift had a song titled 22? No, thank you, Google. But between the Grammys, the Super Bowl, and the anticipation of a new Striper season commencing in New Jersey as of March 1st, what could be more appropriate this week than to feature some unknown pop star who's dating a famous football player for this week's New Jersey Delaware Bay video fishing forecast. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition, and it is February 8th. We're 3 days away from the Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and the 49ers. If you're not really an NFL fan, but you find yourself being forced to watch on Sunday, perhaps you can root for someone local. Vineland, New Jersey's Isaiah Pacheco, a Rutgers grad, will be playing running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, while San Francisco 49ers safety Logan Ryan, he hails from Berlin, New Jersey, and was also a draft pick out of Rutgers University back in 2013. Now, this Sunday, February 11th, Super Bowl Sunday, before the big game, I'll be out in Palmyra for the Palmyra Fire Department Fishing Flea Market. The show runs from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. at the Charles Street School there in Palmyra. The admission is $4, but there is a $10 admission for early bird if you want to get in there at 8 a.m. to sniff around at some of the deals. Great event, do it every year. Super little fishing flea market held every year, it seems, on Super Bowl Sunday. If you want some more information about that, you can get it in the February edition, but you can also call John at 856-786-0718. Now, Highmarsh Striper Club and Southern Regional High School also hosting events this weekend on Saturday. I have details on those in just a couple of minutes. But let's turn our attention to the fishing options you have for this weekend coming up, which, truth be told, they're getting more and more limited fishing options as we continue on forward into the month of February. Now, I spoke with Tommy at Fisherman's Den in Belmar on Monday. We still do the fishing reports every Monday at thefisherman.com, north, central, south, even down into Delaware. They are getting thinner. A lot of folks pulling their boats at this point, doing the winter maintenance. Some of the tackle shops are closed or only available certain hours. But Tommy said the Ocean Explorer, as of this date right now, is the only boat there in Belmar along the dock sailing right now. But if you go just across the Shark River into Neptune, Captain Robbie Siciliano aboard Smoke and Reel Charters, he told me Monday he's going to continue to scratch away at tog and is running anywhere from 8 to 20 miles out in search of the blackfish. He's told me he's been trying to hit every small piece he can. You know, trying to find life here, trying to find life there. So it's a lot of stick and move, but Robbie is sticking it out, which I got to give him credit for, picking away at these tog in February. As, like I said, many of the boats are pulling out now to do their winter maintenance to get themselves back up in gear for March stripers and, of course, black sea bass and tow tog after the March closure of tog. A February closure of tog. Right, we've got tog is open now. It was open January and February. It'll shut down briefly in March, and then we've got it back again in April. Now, on the cover this month, the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition, of course, is Matt Brown with that 20-pound monster tog caught and released on a 1.5-ounce magic tail jig, estimated at around 20 pounds because he did release it. On this week's open boat, Jenny had a chance to sit down with Matt to talk about his catch, his gear, and a little bit of banter back and forth about blackfish conservation.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. We're wrapping up the blackfish talk with Matt here. You may have recognized him on the cover of the New Jersey February edition of the Fisherman magazine. How can you not want to talk about this fish on the cover? So today we're going to talk to Matt about that whole experience hooking this big fish and how it all went down. So he has his rod here and everything. So just, what was that combo you were using basically here?
So I have a OTI pitch black rod that I use. I have a 4,000 ballistic that has been tried and true. I really like Daiwa's product. I was a big Shimano person, but really like the product that Daiwa has had. Nice and light, especially with black fishing in the ocean. You definitely something that's very light that sits in your hands, especially when it's very cold. Something that sits nice in your hands, so you're not if you got gloves on, stuff like that, that it's nice and easy to hold where you can still feel the bite.
So reflecting back on that day, like, how was the bite overall?
I mean, the bite, so we stopped at 2 spots prior to that. We stopped at 2 rock piles that have really good life on them, usually on the back side of them, sitting right before they hit the sand. Has a couple really good ledges, but it was pretty lifeless. It's our normal trip that we do every year for our Christmas dinner, so that's what we make every year for Christmas. Everybody looks forward to it. But it was great. I had my buddy out for his really first time seeing what winter blackfishing's like. He's getting used to really he's really good photographer, and he's trying to learn all the different times and when to go. And luckily enough, he was out on this trip with us and got to capture a really nice shot of that fish. And then my friend Sloan was out with us as well. Really driven fisherman. Fisherwoman. She loves to fish, and you can take her out in any condition. She loves it. The bite was tough when we got there. You just had to cast around. Right before I caught that fish, I broke one off. But just as blackfishing goes, you never really know how big that fish was, because you could break off a 14-inch fish and think that it was a world record. So they're just powerful fish, and they're good at breaking you off. I mean, they live in nasty things, and especially at this place, it has high pieces that you think you're good. Those first 5 feet are crucial. So.
Yeah, and you caught it on a jig too, so that's another huge thing. I mean, you could see the jig in that thing's mouth. We talked to Ray a couple weeks back about jig fishing. This is another prime example of catching some monster fish on the jig. And you have the jig here with you today, so
I did. I mean, it's a little beat up because obviously you can see how nasty this area is. That I love the fish. It's literally, it's like a construction site down there. Hopefully, I'll be able to put that in some kind of mount for the fish, because that fish deserves a mount, because it was, I've been fishing for years. I spent a lot of time targeting these fish, and I take pride in fishing for them, and especially letting them go. That's like my biggest thing with that. But yeah, I mean, that's my main concern, is making sure that they get their way back into the water. The fish from a keeper to about 18 inches are the perfect ones that I want to take home anyway, just because we got to protect the fishery, because we have a fishery here that's like no other, and we need to protect it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, black fishermen out there, be more like Matt. Be considerate about the fish you're catching. A lot of these taxidermy guys, if you want to get that fish mounted, they literally just need the picture. So take a bunch of pictures, get your measurements, and release that fish as quickly as you can back into the water, because just like all other fish species, blackfish conservation is it matters too. Yeah,
I think it might even matter more, because you have a fish that takes a very long time to mature and grow. So, and especially just where they're caught. So like changing the times of the years that we fish for them and stuff like that may make a big difference, because now, like, we're blackfishing now, but a lot of times you have to move farther offshore, and what that draws is the deeper water, pressure, and a lot of times the fish don't survive just because their bladders blow or something like that. And it's just something we have to look into, because as me fishing for them for like the last 15 years, it used to be crazy. You catch hundreds in a day, but now you're fighting to get a limit. We just need to make sure that we're protecting them, because it's something that I'd like to be able to do for a long time. So.
Yeah, we want to be catching all fish, big fish like Matt has been, so conservation efforts are a very serious factor in the future. You may be seeing an article soon that I wrote about the concerns for blackfish, so stay tuned for that. But once again, thank you, Matt, for being here on this week's Open Boat, and be sure to pick up the February edition of the Fisherman magazine. with the cover boy here on it with his big blackfish. And stay tuned for more open boats in the future. We're going to start doing our winter workbench series, and I have a rod back here that's literally drying right now on the rack that we're going to be talking about next week, so stay tuned.
It's time to get ready for our 5th annual Stock Up event on March 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2. Don't miss out on these exclusive savings, raffles, and Fisherman Source giveaways. We'll be featuring several local vendors, pro staff members, and most importantly, free food. Can't wait to see you guys there.
Back to that February edition of the Fisherman magazine with Matt on the cover. The glossy section boasts our annual electronics guide, our electronics buyer's guide from John Raguso for 2024, plus how-to instructions for building your own inshore fluke rod by Matt Broderick. Dave Anderson heads to the lathe with a classic Gibbs design. And of course, there's my feature on gray fish tag research, the Northeast striped bass study. Shout out to the Snopesters tuned in this week to learn more about New Jersey fishing. Glad to have you. Now, we've got local tactics in that New Jersey Delaware Bay edition as well. You won't find another monthly magazine 12 months a year coming out in print dedicated to the way you fish. But it's got Bob Misak's article on winter white perch with some tactics and scouting information if you want to get out and try to find some of those spinies this month. Yes, you can catch them from shore, and on those nicer days, which we do have some warmer temperatures coming up ahead, you can press off into the canals and creeks by kayak or skiff, even Garvey, if that's what you have. Now, Dave Scholl, he reminds me of a Garvey right there. Dave at Absecon Bay Sportsman Center, he reports that bloodworms and perhaps grass shrimp, if you can get them, will put a few white perch in the box. Or in the case of the meat wagon crew, you're going to have them strewn all over the cockpit floor. Another sailing option for you out front this month is cod, maybe pollock, possibly ling, although the hake, they have not been really in great populations this season. You talk to any of the head boats, they'll tell you that the ling just haven't been around. But if cod interests you, the Big Jamaica out of Brielle is sailing Saturdays and Sundays through February into March. The next trip is scheduled for this Saturday, February 10th. It leaves at 4 a.m. Just keep an eye out on the NOAA Marine Weather Forecast as you prep for this and any other trips that you plan to make outside the inlets. Winter, it's a tough one to march through. But as far as that weather forecast itself, here at the Jersey Shore, a bit of a warming trend in the days ahead, highs into the 50s on Saturday, though there is a little chance of showers ahead. We will talk about the weekend events in Monmouth and Ocean County in about 2 minutes, but I know a lot of folks this time of year take advantage of the sweetwater options throughout the tri-state region. Tick-free fishing, no bugs, less crowds. It's great for stocked rainbows, muskies, northerns in the Passaic River, perhaps some walleye on the Delaware. For this week's Freshwater Report, let's head west. We'll check in with my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, it's starting to feel like spring out there, but I think we're going to have a couple weeks of winter ahead of us just before things break loose for the year. But you know what? Things are looking up. PA Fish and Boat Commission, you know, they're out stocking on February 19th, getting ready for the April 6th trout opener here in Pennsylvania. You know, the extended season closes here on the 18th of February to get that stocking program started. So a couple more weeks, you guys can get out and enjoy some of that fishing. In New Jersey, trout ends on March 19th for an April 8th season opener over there. So guys, get out and get on some of those trout. A few guys that are getting on those trout, like my friend Jay Batcha, up here in northeast Pennsylvania, he's out getting some trout as well. A couple of nice browns, an 18 and a 21 incher. Not a bad day to spend on a winter's day. Also, Eric Goodstill, my good friend down there in Northumberland County, he's out getting some brown trout as well on those jerk baits. Now over in New Jersey, guys are actually hitting some largemouth bass, like my good friend Jen Wong, getting a nice 20 incher here on the jerk bait as well. And the Delaware River, the Big D guys starting to produce. Tim Keeber, guide out there on the river, getting guests on some beautiful smallmouth. Also, he managed to get a couple guys on some walleye, even managing to get himself on a real nice walleye as well. It stays still for a pick. So, guys, there's lots of great fish, and I hope you're out getting on them as well. Don't forget to send us those photos, and we'll catch you next time. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
From the Pocono Mountains to the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, let's check in with Captain Ben, Jackpot Sport Fishing at a Marina Pez Vela in Capos.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Ben Gilmore from down here in Costa Rica at the Marina Pez Vela with this week's fishing report. Guys, the inshore fishery here right now has been really strong. We had some wonderful roosterfish over the past week or two. Just the other day we had the roosterfish tournament of the year, the Marina Pez Vela Roosterfish Rodeo. Thankfully my boat, Good Day, was lucky enough to win the tournament. We caught 8 stunning roosterfish up to almost 40 inches. So a really solid day for us, some really happy anglers. And we tagged a bunch of those roosterfish for the Gray Fish Tag Research Program. At the offshore reefs, we've had some cubera snappers, mullet snappers, and lots of action with fish like jacks and amberjacks as well. Close to the rivers, there's been some triple tail and some beautiful sized snook also. The sailfish bite offshore has been good. Some days getting up towards double digits, 10, 12, 14 sailfishes a day on the better days. And there's been a few blue marlin and a couple of striped marlin and black marlin out there as well. Guys, check us out here in Costa Rica. This is Ben Gilmore. Would love to see you down here fishing with us at the Marina Pez Vela. Back to you.
Now this Saturday, my alma mater, Southern Regional High School, Manahawkin, New Jersey, they're hosting their annual fishing flea market from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. That's at the Southern Regional Middle School Cafeteria, 75 Cedar Bridge Road in Manahawkin. Admission is $4. Children under 12 are free. This is run, of course, by the Southern Rams High School Fishing Club, supports their activities in 2024. The Southern Regional Junior High Cafeteria. That's where I spent so much time, high school dances, in that 15-minute version of Freebird at the end of every dance. To the north, Raritan Bayshore area anglers will descend upon the Port Monmouth VFW Post 2179. That's on Veterans Lane in Port Monmouth. The Highmar Fishing Club, the Highmar Striper Club, their annual fishing flea market will be held from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. this Saturday, February 10th. Admission is $5, kids 16 and under free. It includes free access to the seminars, including one by my man Chuck Manny of Tie-Man Fishing, Tie-Man Sport Fishing, the Striper Pro, the Jumbo Stripers. Listen, if you want to learn how to catch those jumbo personal best stripers of 40, 50, and even 60 pounds, the kind of big fish that you'll see on page 18 of the glossy section in that February edition, Jack Glassberg, it was the Manny method. You want to be there at Highmar on Saturday. Now, striper season, of course, can't come soon enough. 22 days until New Jersey's back bays, creeks, lagoons, rivers, anything west of the Colregs, inlets and back. That's when we'll be reopened for the striper fishery. Open beaches, of course, are wide open. And after March, sometime in April and May, that's when everybody's going to be running and gunning the beaches as well. Now, I see some serious surfcasters out there on the beaches every season carrying around a whole lot of tackle around their waist. It's got to be bad for the back. Grippers, pliers, plug bags, sometimes 3, 4, 8 spools of leader around the belt. I've seen a lot of them. Sandwich bags, right? This is where you're putting your leader materials. Tie up, I've never seen somebody reaching back on their leader and tying them on the fly. In the middle of a blitz where you're losing rigs and losing plugs, are you tying your leaders? No, you want to take the time to have everything tied up in advance, put them in plastic bags. You can stuff them in your pocket, you stuff them in your plug bags. This Sunday, if you're really not into the game, take out a big spool of leader material, 30 pound, 50 pound, take out your barrel swivels and your tactical angler clips or your dual locks, sit in front of the game and tie up some rigs. With more on that, some simple advice for tying up some of those surf rigs for the season ahead, let's check in with Matt Broderick, our Long Island edition editor.
As a surfcaster, it's never a bad time to stock up on the leaders that you're going to use. I've gone through so many a year. I must go through dozens, if not hundreds of leaders, getting bit off by bluefish, losing them, whatever it may be. You'll lose this stuff while surf fishing. So having this stuff tied before you go surf fishing is super important. I'm going to show you guys a real quick and easy way that I tie my surf leaders. You guys can also make it your own with the length of the leader, but let's get right into it. So, what I start with right here is I have a quick clip, which I enjoy using when I'm surf casting. It makes it really easy to switch lures with. I also have a barrel swivel as well. That's for tying on the other end pretty easily. Makes things easy and quick in the surf, and that means more fish caught in the long run. I'm just using 30-pound leader material here. This is something I probably would use in the early part of the season. So I'm going to use a small piece just so I don't have a big piece of leader. But something like this, 2.5 feet, 2 feet, this is the perfect length for back bay fishing in the early spring. So we're going to go with this. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to go about 2.5 feet right there. I'm going to take my snips, cut that off like that. Okay, so we have a length, 2.5 feet. And we have our 2 terminal ends right here. Take one end, and I'm going to be using regular clinch knots for this. They work really well. You don't have to go improved all the time. Just make sure your knots are really tight and all the wraps are all tied into each other as well. So first, I'm going to start with the quick clip right here. Go through. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pass it back through. I'm going to wet that just so that knot slides nice and easily. Okay? Pull that. Don't pull it all the way yet. Just pull it like that. Then we do the other end. This is the barrel swivel. Same thing. Go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. Now pull it, but don't pull all the way. Wet it a little. So now I have 2 unfinished ends. Here's the neat part. You take the other end of the barrel swivel, pop into the clip, just like this, and you pull. They both get cinched down perfect, just like that. Unclip it. You're all set to go. Just want to trim off the tag ends. Now you're ready to fish.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Haven't talked about this in a little while. Hold on to your hats. The industrialization of our nearshore and offshore waters continues. As leading light, Invenergy, and Attentive Energy were just awarded the 3rd solicitation of power by the good folks at the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. Both of these offshore wind farm locations plan on plugging into Seagirt when complete. Ørsted, meanwhile, of course, pulled out of another project down in Maryland, which was just about 3 months or so after suspending their New Jersey plans, but they now want to buy into a New York wind project. I guess they're trying to renegotiate their terms, but this industrialization of our inshore and offshore waters continues. So on the screen right now, it's just so you know where we stand. This chart shows some of the active industrial offshore wind projects coming to the New York, New Jersey region. I know I saw recently where one wind energy shill, he called these quote unquote fish factories. Now, from where I come from down in the Great Bay Area, we called the fish factory, it's also known by another name, the stink house, which is pretty appropriate because I think this whole industrialization effort stinks. A lot of these new offshore development proposals that you're seeing are farther away from shore, way offshore, 30, 40, 50 miles it looks like, which seems to take care of the NIMBYism where people don't want to see the turbines from shore. But keep in mind that the farther offshore you put these massive wind turbines, the bigger the challenge of transporting all of that power to shore. Alternating AC current generated from wind turbines can be transported from these wind sites inside of 30 miles. But once you get beyond 30 miles from shore, a high voltage direct current or HVDC system is used to convert AC power to DC, which can be transported longer distances without significant power loss. Now, according to the Bureau of Ocean and Energy Management, which is guiding this industrial offshore wind voyage, BOEM, these massive HVDC stations haven't really been available for testing, but they do require open loop open loop seawater intake and outtake, which cools the system. Think about the power plants, right? Now, according to Bohm, quote, potential effects from using the cooling systems include the discharge of heated water, use of chemicals, and trapping of fish larvae. Move it farther offshore, it still stinks just as much. In last week's video, I shared that somewhat shocking ASMFC striped bass chart on recreational harvest with private angler mortality compared to for hire. Look for the link in this week's YouTube description to a 3-chart breakdown I offered up over at thefisherman.com. That was sent out in our email alert earlier this week on Tuesday, and that too is generating a lot of social media buzz, much of it about fake news and bad science. Now, over on Instagram, Jake seemed to question why I chose not to do a deeper dive into the MRIP effort data. I don't know if he felt it was inconvenient of ASMFC not to provide me with that chart, or I was being inconvenient as if I was trying to hide some information. No motive here, Jake, except to say there are 1 million data points to scrutinize in fisheries management, which is what makes it so complex. And it's often unfair to the angling community. Think about MRIP and their admission last year. NOAA Fisheries said it may be overestimating by as much as 40%. Jake said he wanted to email some comments for publication in the Fisherman magazine. I will look for that, Jake. Thank you. I also received an email from Gordon out in Pennsylvania asking why ASMFC didn't just shut down New Jersey's striped bass fishery in the Raritan until May 1st. That, he said, would be protecting the spawning class stripers getting ready to move up the Hudson in April. He mentioned New York's April 15th season opener on striped bass as an example. Briefly, for you, Gordon, and anybody else, New Jersey's January and February striped bass closure in the Garden State that's going on right now, that's a no targeting rule. No harvest, no catch and release, no directed fishery. New York, on the other hand, they allow targeted catch and release fishing on striped bass until it officially opens on April 15th. And then consider this, north of the George Washington Bridge during the spring spawn, they still allow the targeting of striped bass up to 28 inches. So why should ASMFC mandate a 3-month closure on New Jersey and not do the same with any other state? There was a management debate on roving state-by-state targeting striped bass restrictions brought up at the ASMFC over the last year, 2 years. But all the other anglers outside of New Jersey, they were hoping that it only applied to New Jersey, and they didn't think that a 2-week no targeting closure was going to apply to them. And once they found out, nobody wanted this closure. Everyone always wants the same state-by-state regulations, only when they're better. ASMFC does not give New Jersey any management authority as they do in Maryland and New York for being a spawning area state, despite being right along the Delaware and right along the Hudson River. After taking that designation away from New Jersey years ago, it would be a little hypocritical of the commission to then turn around and tell New Jersey anglers, you can't target spawning stock, right? You can't say New Jersey's a spawning area state and then say you can't target spawning area stripers. The two things don't mesh. The management system is a mess, and the divisiveness in our community is allowing the entire process to erode even further. There are conversations that our entire community needs to have openly and respectfully for the health of this fishery. Now, next weekend, I'll talk a little bit about stripers next Thursday in Edison. That's when we kick things off with our seminars for the New Jersey Boat Sale and Expo. That runs at the Edison Center Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will also have seminars at Oaks, PA next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Philadelphia Fishing Show, that's where I'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I go from Edison on Thursday to Oaks, PA, busy weekend. Plus, you got Jenny Ackerman, who when not in Edison on Friday or Sunday, she will woman the booth at Surf Day out in Lincroft. That is next Saturday. Big weekend. You can get a free copy of the Fisherman magazine, the February edition, at each one of these shows. Plus, you can get one this Sunday at Palmyra. You may be able to get one in Highmar and Southern Regional as well. I'm not sure if our mags are there. Plus, make sure you look for us wherever we have a table and the free magazines taking subscriptions. You get that new or renewing subscription to the Fisherman magazine. Get that printed copy delivered to you 12 monthly issues plus the 26 digital weeklies from April through November. We will send you out of the show with a 4-inch Tsunami iPop popper just in time for the spring striper fishery. Plus, we'll send you a $20 gift card for Shorehold Marine Products. You'll get that in the mail. This Sunday, I'll see you out in Palmyra, Super Bowl Sunday. Next week's video fishing forecast coming to you from the floor of the boat show in Edison. We're shaking it off, my friends, clearing the cobwebs. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and striped bass season in New Jersey is swiftly approaching. Catch 'em up. I'll see you next week from Edison.